All right, well, welcome everyone to our Q2 Roadmap webinar series. I am so excited to be diving into all the amazing features we have coming your way, as well as many new exclusive ones that we have just for our partners as we start to dive into this. My name is Chase and I'll be your host today, and I'm joined today by Antoine, who's our co-founder and GM of our MSP business unit here at JumpCloud as we start to dive in and deconstruct all the amazing features that are coming, what we've built upon, and where we are taking them next. A quick disclaimer though, before we start to dive in, we are still humans working in software. AI has not yet come for our roadmap webinar. So with that, time and subject to change, but if you have any questions at all around what we are working on, what features we have up next, we'd love to chat with you and our product team. We'll actually grab that here a little bit later in the webinar, but please reach out through your partner account executive and we will set that up for you. And so now dive into a little bit more of the webinar and some of the topics and themes that you'll start to see from JumpCloud, not only here within Q2, but also later on through the rest of the year. First, when we start and talk a little bit more about our Open Directory evolution, where we're taking that and kind of how we see that as a platform for managing all things device management, including and kind of the expansion there between security, management, as well as enhanced workflows and automation. So making sure we're combining all those different aspects to work smarter within that platform and saving you even more time, as well as a little bit more in terms of how we're thinking about identity moving forward and some of those features that we'll be looking to implement within our own infrastructure, as well as a quick update on some of the JumpCloud applications and making sure that the whole ecosystem is updated within your knowledge. And so with that, I'll hand it over to Antoine and we'll start to dive into our Open Directory platform.
Thanks, Chase. It's great to see so many of you here, and we're excited to share these updates with you and get your feedback as well. That's an important point. In the last couple of webinars, we polled you in some different places of the presentation to get your feedback, schedule follow-up calls to discuss specific things, and a lot of you have really offered to spend a lot of time with us improving our different things. So we'll share updates about the new things that we've released as a result of your suggestions, and we'll poll you again to get your feedback towards the end of the presentation. So I'll start with Open Directory, which is our vision. So JumpCloud, as you all know, is an open directory platform. The best way to look at it is the glue that connects all your different identity sources, all your different applications, all your different devices in one unified platform. We've been adding a lot of different authentication protocols, integrations with third-party vendors, deepening our device integrations to give you the single pane of glass that's going to allow you to increase your revenues, reduce your operating costs, vendor costs, and improve security altogether. So the core of that, or the direction that we're going into, is device as a gateway. And the way we define device as a gateway is authenticating user to any type of resource, whether it's an application, a specific service, an on-prem appliance, by having them authenticate to a device that's managed by you in most cases. And that's the vision that we want to go towards. So it has multiple components that are attached to it: an authentication hub that connects the different authentication methods together, a device management and posture layer, a conditional access layer to give you this advanced zero trust capability that you need to restrict access to different types of resources, and a cloud identity device login module to authenticate access into the device and beyond. So let me walk you through a user journey here. So imagine that a user gets to work and gets a new laptop. And on this new laptop, they click on a button to create a new account on that device. And that prompts them through a web view to authenticate to their identity provider. The identity provider is JumpCloud, but it can also be any other identity provider that you have, such as Okta, Google, or Microsoft even. After authenticating against the identity provider, the user creates a local PIN or enrolls biometric on the device, and that's it. A local user account was provisioned on that device, and now the user is able to authenticate into the device. And then once the user is inside the device, whenever they want to access any type of cloud-based application or other type of service, they can log in using a local biometric or a local PIN. If that sounds super easy for users, it's because it is. So that's the journey that we want to put your users on in order to simplify authenticating to different types of workflows in a manner that takes IT out of the equation for users, gets IT out of the way. In order to get that vision, there are multiple components that come in to play here. So the first one is signing in with JumpCloud. One new thing that we were working towards is allowing users to create a local device account from within their operating system. So they get a new device. There's a sign in with JumpCloud button in the bottom left corner on Windows, or another location on Mac and Linux. They click on that button, authenticate on JumpCloud or their IDP. And what that does is create a local user account on the device, but it also binds this device to their JumpCloud identity in the admin console. That removes a lot of steps that you have to do, a lot of tedious steps that you have to do, and just makes the experience much more simpler to users in general. They get to work, see a new device, they want to do work on that device, click a button, create a local user account, the device gets bound in the JumpCloud directory, and the user can get to work very simply. The second one is bringing your own IDP. In the past, JumpCloud imports to the identities from anywhere, from any type of directory, from HRIS systems, from custom integrated REST APIs, so you could get information in. What we're doing now is expanding this to enable your users to sign in with your IDP of choice. So if you have an IDP already in place that you'd like to keep for a specific reason, if you're using a combination of these, then your users will be able to use their IDP to authenticate into their device and applications through JumpCloud. That reinforces the idea that JumpCloud is the glue that connects any type of identity source and any type of application to what matters, which is the identity of the user. And then there's JumpCloud Go. JumpCloud Go is a new way that we're working towards that will allow users to authenticate in a passwordless way using locally stored hardware keys in a seamless way to different services. So let's say the user wants to access the user console. In addition to being able to use their own username and password, they'll have another authentication method that will prompt them for local biometrics on the device to be able to access the JumpCloud console, for example. And that's part of our passwordless journey, and the journey we want to put the users in, where the device is the gateway. You authenticate into the device. Once you're authenticated into the managed device, then you access any type of other application without a password, without any type of friction. So with that said, let's talk about devices now, because we have a lot of updates on the device side which is one of our core pillars in JumpCloud. So you might have heard that we launched recently our Windows MDM, and that's a big step for us because now we support two types of ways to manage Windows devices: Windows MDM and agent-based authentication. And we believe that having the two together offers you the best coverage and the most flexibility to be able to offer the service they want. So now with our JumpCloud Windows MDM, your users can enroll their own device into the MDM, into the Windows MDM, which will show up in the admin console, and it will result in a non-removable JumpCloud agent on the device, which is a common request that we've been hearing over the years. But that's only the beginning. As a next step, we're allowing admins to toggle or like the JumpCloud agent to an MDM enrollment from within the admin console, which is going to allow for easy provisioning of a package creation for device staging. So when a new user joins in, you create a package that has all the different applications, all the different policies, everything that you want to run on the device that will be able to be automatically provisioned on that device once it's enrolled into MDM. And we're going to start adding and continue adding CSP policies, and we're going to need your help here prioritizing which CSP policies to build first. So we're going to ask you at some point later on whether you would be open to meeting with our product team to having follow-on conversations. That's going to be a great opportunity for you to raise your hand and say, hey, we're willing to help. There are these things that we need, and it would be great if you can prioritize them for us. Next, a big one, and the last piece of the puzzle, Android EMM. So we finally released it. We now have a very robust core on which we're going to build on, but we now support Mac, Windows, Linux, iOS, iPadOS, and now Android. So with the current release of Android Enterprise Mobility Management, you can enforce device and work profiles on the device. So you can have now a container for the work related items on the device. We also support major functionality that's supported by MDM providers, like locking the device, wiping the device, resetting the device, and drive device compliance. And we allow you also to search, organize, and distribute apps on these devices. Again, that's the beginning of a long journey that we're actively working towards. The next step is going to be enhanced policies. So we're going to continue adding a lot of additional policies. That's going to be a work in progress. We'd like to hear from you what types of policies you'd like us to prioritize first. So again, an opportunity at the end to help us out with this. We're also adding support for fully managed devices. So devices that are only designed to be for work, that shouldn't have two types of containers that are purely for the device, and zero-touch enrollment. And if we were to go a step after that, then we're gonna go into fully managed mode for the dedicated single-use devices. So that's kind of the roadmap for the second half, for this coming quarter and the second half of the year. That might bleed a little bit into next year, but we're actively working on making this the best experience possible. We do believe that at this point in time, our Android DMM capabilities tick the boxes of over 80% of the requests that we're going to get. And we got to this number by looking at the requests that we've received over the years that led us to have this first initial release. But that additional incremental 20% is going to come over time, and you can definitely help us get there faster with your feedback. Another important point, software management. So you have three types of different apps, right? So you have apps that are in stores, the Windows Store and the Mac Store. You have apps that are internal for your teams that you're licensing or have built your own that you need to distribute. And then you have third-party apps that are not in stores. And what we're working on is making these three different experiences seamless, starting with managing private apps. So we're currently working on enabling you to upload, deploy, and update your own Windows and Mac apps. So you'll upload the apps to our repos through the admin console. These apps will be scanned for integrity, and we're going to remove the file limits from custom macOS apps. And what that's going to allow you to do is just deploy these apps in a much more seamless manner, which aligns with just your ability to be able to offer these types of services to your customers. We're also working on adding more App Store capabilities. macOS VPP and Windows Store apps can now both be deployed and automatically updated. That's an important step. The step after all of that is going to be third-party app patching, and that's a step that we're excited to get to. But this first stepping stone is core in order to enable us to get there. So we've covered devices. Let's now talk about workflow and automation, or how we help you actually operate at the highest level, much faster with less resources, and just like scale the way that you'd like to scale in general. There's a lot of things in there. The first one is dynamic groups. So we're rolling out fully automated dynamic groups across users and devices. There's an optional step of requiring your review before any change is affected, but you can automate it fully if desired. We're improving our exemptions experience for users and devices where that you don't want automated rules to apply on, for admins, for example, or users in specific departments, etc. We're also making our default groups dynamic. So if you have users, the all user group that comes with JumpCloud by default, this user group will continuously be updated with all the users that are in JumpCloud, which is going to simplify attaching binding policies, pushing software, deploying the password manager, etc. And on the devices side, you also have a group that's automatically populated by OS family, which aligns with our policies and how you can actually apply these to these different devices. In general, we're trying to get to consistency between user group and device group experience. And we do believe that having these automated user and device group memberships are going to allow you to drive a lot of automation and streamline your processes. Next, an important one, device policy compliance baselines. So today you apply policies, but what we want to enable you to do is know which devices are breaking these policies at any point in time. So we're going to enable you with different scores and percentages that are going to allow you at a glance to know when a device is not currently compliant, and you're going to be able to create JumpCloud reports for audit logging details. That's a first important step that's going to give you the necessary visibility that we can then build on to enable you to simplify your remediation flows, maybe automate some of it, but that's the first step that we need to get to. So there's a lot of orchestration use cases, other use cases that come into mind. The first one is compliance, like automatically taking action when a device falls out of compliance, for example, when the device is not encrypted anymore or the firewall is disabled, granting users temporary access to specific types of applications or to a specific role or to pseudo privileges for a specific period of time. That's something that we're going to enable you to do. Automatically suspending users when they're inactive after X amount of days, or deprovisioning single sign-on apps if they're not used for this amount of time. All of these are requests that we have received over time that are going to allow you to further streamline your operations, and also creating custom attributes upon membership and leverage these custom attributes for rules and dynamic groups. So there's a lot of different things and different use cases that we're going to enable, and we're currently building the base and the strategy to actually enable you with that. And that's work that we're starting in this coming quarter that will continue throughout the second half of this year. Remote Assist was one of the biggest additions that we had earlier. And one of the very frequent requests that we got was that you needed silent assist, or the ability to do unattended remote access into users' devices when a user is not on the device, to give you access to that specific device. This is something that is now available. You can access it from the admin console, and we're making it available from within the multi-tenant console as well, so that you can silently access the devices of your users without requiring their intervention. Now, we're talking more RMM language at this point. So we started with remote monitoring. You can already run commands, you can already apply policies, but what about device health monitoring? So we've officially embarked on that journey to enable you with these different types of capabilities, starting with a remote command line. So you're going to be able to get an interactive command prompt where you're able to run commands on the devices from within the multi-tenant console. That's going to allow you to interact with the device without taking over the keyboard and the mouse, and without having to run static commands, which are not always the desired approach to do any work on the device. We're also working to launch a remote file explorer and file transfer capabilities from within the admin console to the device of the user. There's a lot more things that are also being planned, like a remote process manager, programmable device alerts, automatic alert remediation, so running a command as a result of an alert being triggered, a fleet health dashboard, and integrating all of that within the multi-tenant portal, so you get the single pane of glass and the advanced control that you need whenever you need it. So this is a huge step for us, because it's been one of the major asks on the device management side from our users, to be able to have some of these additional automations and automation and monitoring capabilities, and we're officially now on that path to get these delivered to you. Now let's talk about identity, access, and authentication. So in the past, you could get identities into JumpCloud, import your identities from other identity providers, HRIS systems, through our REST APIs. Now, what we're enabling is this automatic import of users every hour. So it's a recurrent task that's going to allow you to get the latest version of your users from wherever they sit, which means that you're not going to need to anymore manually go in there and actually re-import users or resort to other methods to get these users in. That can be now fully automated. And the same way we're getting information into JumpCloud, we're now pushing information out of JumpCloud. So you're going to be able to programmatically provision, update, and deprovision identities into apps that don't support the existing protocols that we use out there using our REST APIs. So you can already get identities into JumpCloud. You can already get now identities into JumpCloud on a recurrent basis. And next, you're going to be able to push back these identities in a programmatic manner to provision, update, or deprovision these identities and different types of these systems. So this gives you additional flexibility. This reinforces the idea that the JumpCloud Open Directory platform is the glue that holds all of your different systems together. We've also enhanced our SAML capability with support for multiple ACS URLs and with additional flexibility with SAML name IDs. These were also common requests, and they're now available to give you this additional flexibility. And we have new partnerships and integrations to announce. The first one is with Google, specifically with Google Workspace. We've now partnered up with Google to help bring the power of the JumpCloud Open Directory platform and Google Workspace to users. This partnership takes the form of a value-added reseller partnership. So any value-added resellers that are on the call that are interested to learn more about this partnership should reach out to us to learn more about it. And I'm sure we'll do more over time with Google, as there's a clear need to unify our identity access device management capabilities with the productivity suite that Google has in the market. We're also deepening our engagement with Personio and deal to bring additional capabilities and like a tighter alliance with these two companies. Now let's talk about the JumpCloud applications. So we have a series of JumpCloud applications. One of them is the password manager, another one is JumpCloud Protect, and we've been doing a lot of improvements over time to these different applications. The first big improvement on the password management side is the addition of a cloud backups feature. So the cloud backup feature is an option that enables companies to create an encrypted backup of customer vaults that are stored on JumpCloud servers. This vault is encrypted with a key that's handed out to the admin the moment the feature is turned on. When a user loses their device, because of the decentralized aspect of the password manager, where passwords are stored locally and are synced in an end-to-end manner, there's a risk of data loss. If the user loses all of their devices at the same time, or if local backups aren't properly backed up to a third-party appliance. This feature removes that risk. So in the case that a user comes in and has lost access to their password manager vault, they'll have 4 options to restore. They can either restore from another device that they have currently activated with the password manager. They can restore from a backup file if they have an encrypted backup copy of their file, or they can request an admin to restore their account. When they click that button, that'll send an alert to the admin, and from within the admin console, the admin will click a button, input the key, and restore access to the user. So it removes the inconvenience of having to figure out what to do when a user loses access to their vault. It also just removes the fear of data loss in general. It's a feature that's been heavily requested. It's an optional feature, so we know that a lot of our partners and customers do not desire this specific feature because they found their own ways of backing up the appliance. But for those of you who needed this feature to have the assurance that the data would be safe regardless of what happens to the user of the device, it's here. It's currently in early access. So if you're interested in testing it out, let us know and we'll enable it for your organization, and it will be generally available in the coming weeks. We're also doing a lot of additional improvements and releasing additional features to help continue to improve the password manager. The first one is easier support from our end through auto logging of the device logs. So in the past, whenever you've had an issue, you've had to export your logs from the password manager, send them to us so we could analyze them. Now we'll be auto logging, sending like crashes and relevant activity logs to the servers so that our engineers can actually review these logs in near real time and come up with solutions. We're also revamping our sync protocol, the protocol that syncs information across the different devices that you have the password manager integrated on. We realized that we underestimated in some cases how many passwords some of you had. Like we thought that 5,000, 10,000 passwords was like the limit that you can reach, but we've seen some numbers that are really impressive. So these sync optimizations are going to allow you to like just have the same level of convenience, speed, etc., that you would have if you had a much smaller vault. And it's a big release that we're expecting to have in the second half of the year. We're also adding the ability to create and manage shared folders from within the admin console. In the past, users had to create and manage shared folders from within their own vaults, which works most of the time because the users tend to initiate shares to other users. But we've heard from a lot of you that you want to be in a situation where you can create a shared folder from the admin console and decide which users need to be in that shared folder. So that's exactly what we're releasing. We're also releasing app defaults that can be configured from within the admin console. Like things that you'll be able to configure, for example, are the app lock timeout schedule of the apps, the password generator baseline settings, what types of devices users can install the password manager on, and so on and so forth. If you have any ideas about like specific configurations that you'd be able to set from within the admin console, also please let us know. We also acknowledge that there's a lot of room to improve our user experience, and we've received a lot of feedback around the user experience, around the browser extension, the import wizard, and the desktop application. And we've been going through that feedback and investing a lot of time in improving the user experience in general. So we're currently working on redesigning our import wizard. We're also working on redesigning our browser extension, and we'll do the same for the desktop app in the coming months. We've also released, I believe this week, our Safari browser extension. So we're officially on all different web browsers, available on all web browsers. To get the Safari browser extension, you can download it from the Mac App Store on your device. Now, let's talk about JumpCloud Protect. One of the big features that feature requests that we've received is the ability to be able to action the push notification to authenticate using Protect from within the lock screen of the device. In the past, you had to click on the notification, go into the app, and then approve the request, which is inconvenient if you do it multiple times per day, and it's a habit like that becomes annoying at some point when you do it a lot. So what we're doing now is adding action buttons on the lock screen of the device, and when you select one of the actions, like the approve request, for example, you'll be prompted to authenticate your device using whatever biometric or PIN you have on the device to stay authenticated. That also means that if you have an Apple Watch, you'll get that notification on your Apple Watch, and you'll be able to approve or deny the request from within the Apple Watch as well. So that kind of is the update there. Now, let's talk multi-tenant portal. Last time, in our last partner roadmap webinar, we shared the UX vision of the multi-tenant portal, and we essentially shared the fact that we want to give you a single pane of glass that's highly actionable to allow you to do the actions that you do on a recurrent basis really fast without having to go into the specific organizations. The vision long term is everything that you need to do in terms of reactively do shows up within the multi-tenant portal, and you can action very quickly. And every time of proactive action that's frequent, that you that is like kind of high impact, low effort, but requires usually navigation to get to a specific tenant, a specific section within the tenant, we want to bubble up within the multi-tenant portal. We also started implementing different types of templates. So starting with command templates late last year, followed by policy group templates or earlier this year. The ability to manage these from the multi-tenant portal is also key. But we've extended that, broadened that vision a little bit, and I'll update you now about some of the things that are coming. The first thing is that we've added earlier this year users and devices in the multi-tenant portal. So you can now see all of your users and all of your devices across all of your organizations from within the multi-tenant portal without having to navigate into a specific tenant to identify a specific user and device. The second thing that we did is we took the very common actions that you do on a user, like unlocking the user, suspending the user, resetting the user's access, similar things for devices, and I've put them in the MTP. So you can select the user and select the action that you want to do. That's a major time saver because it saves you like 7 clicks and maybe 15 to 20 seconds of load time. So that has been done. We've also added the ability to add a user or a device from within the multi-tenant portal. So instead of having to navigate to the organization section, go to an organization which navigates into the tenant, then go to the user section, click on plus and add a user. You can go to the user section in the MTP, click on plus, select which company you want to add the user in and the high level information, and that will automatically take you into the tenant, into the create user view, and pre-populate the information that you've already submitted, which makes this process a lot more easier. We've also added the ability to export user and device lists from the MTP. A lot of you do this for billing purposes, to send that information to documentation platforms and for different types of use cases. So that's now easy. And you can also filter these lists from within the MTP very simply using our filter, which gives you like a filtered access view depending on the operating system, the company that users in, whether they have alerts or not, etc. And on the devices side, one of the quick actions to note is the ability to launch a remote assist session from within the multi-tenant portal without having to go to the tenant. So that's a very common action. Now you go to the device section, identify the device, and launch a remote desktop session from there. So that's the start. That's the base that we're going to build the rest of the things on. Now, what we also added earlier this year is JumpCloud recommended policy groups. So we've created different policy groups for different types of operating systems, depending on the level of restrictiveness that you want to have. And these are now available out of the box. So when you deploy a new customer, if you want to use a specific set of device of policy groups, a policy group that has specific policies that you think will align with your company's agreements with your customers, then you can select one of these out of the box and just apply it to the devices that are in this organization. What we're adding as a next step is adding the ability to create and manage custom policy group templates. So you can now create custom policy group templates. You'll also be able to manage these policy group templates. So you create a policy group, one that makes sense for your company. Then you say this policy group is going to be used across all of our organizations. Like in general, right, you'll have some exceptions, but that's a good baseline. Once you have this policy group template, it now becomes accessible, available in all the other tenants. So when you go in to create a new policy group, you can pick from a template, pick that template and apply it automatically. The next step after that is going to be taking these policy group management and putting it in the multi-tenant portal so that you can manage it from up there. We're also adding the ability soon to run ad hoc commands on a device, and that's a big one. In the past, or currently, to run a command, what you need to do is create a command object, write the command in it with all its different configuration, attach devices or device groups, and then run the command so it runs on the device. What you're used to do with other device management tools, and what's more natural in a lot of cases, is the ability to run a command as a point in time, like point and click type of thing. So you select a device, say run a command, you get a list of the different commands, select the command, and it runs on the device. And also the ability to do that across multiple devices at the same time. So we released earlier last week the ability to do that through our APIs. So you can run a command on a device now using our APIs, and we're adding that functionality within the multi-tenant portal and within the admin console soon. So you'll be able to pick a device or a group of devices and then say run command, and the command will run on the spot. Also, billing visibility. Like, a lot of you have a lot of different children under management in JumpCloud, and I have a lot of different licenses that they have deployed. Some of you have nonprofit organizations, EDU organizations. So the pool of licenses that you have with JumpCloud is complex, and managing that billing visibility is not always easy. So what we're doing is bringing additional billing visibility into the multi-tenant portal. So you'll get a clear view across how many licenses that are deployed across any child organization, if you've reached a limit on a specific child organization, but more importantly, you'll also be able to see how many licenses you still have in your committed pool to deploy to your customers before you become overcommitted on your number of licenses. So that's going to allow you to plan better. It's going to allow you to make better decisions when it comes to allocating licenses. It's just like the natural evolution of the MTP that's going to align with what you're trying with your like scaling goals with JumpCloud. Another one that's coming soon is the ability to clone an organization, right? So most of you start by deploying JumpCloud to one customer, and then a year in, you have 15, 20 customers in JumpCloud. And when we ask you about how you actually went on to add these additional customers, we hear all sorts of different methods that you found. Some of you have a documentation platform which lists the steps that you need to follow to do something specific. Others open one org in a tab and the new one another tab and start copying the different configurations between one. But what we hear very frequently is that a lot of the setup of the new organizations are connected very directly to what you have currently in another organization. So the ability to clone an organization along with the organization settings, the device and user group settings, the different feature settings, the different administrators access to the organizations are things that you kind of copy paste most of the time. So allowing you to clone an organization is going to give you that ability to onboard your second, third, fourth, 100th child very quickly without having to commit any upfront work to set up the environment ahead of time. So we've shared a lot of updates that span across identity, access, device management. We've also talked about a lot of the multi-tenant capabilities that we've already released earlier this year and that we're planning to release in the second half of the year. But we're able to build all of these features by getting your feedback, right? You already submit ticket ideas for features through the admin console. We also hear from you in our different calls with our account managers, with our implementation engineers, our sales engineers, and all of that kind of works together to help us formulate an opinion on what we want to build next. But the most valuable type of feedback is the direct feedback in the scope of a product conversation. So we'd love to be able to schedule a call with you to get your feedback on what you've heard today, if it aligns with your goals, etc. And two, hear from you about what you want us to prioritize ahead of, after that, or like if you think something that needs to really be like, we'd love to hear from you essentially. So we're going to show a poll on the screen that's going to prompt you to let us know if you're interested in having a conversation with us in the coming weeks, in the coming months, or not at the moment. And we would really like you to say yes, because your feedback is really it's very valued, and we put a lot of weight behind it, and we'd like to use it to be able to improve the product. We're going to poll you a couple of times today, so don't be afraid to say yes on many things. We're not going to spam you with different calls. What we'll do is consolidate your answers and then have your account manager reach out and say, okay, you've offered to talk to us about product, about the next thing, etc. Let me set up one call where I can get the different stakeholders so we can have a productive session. So let's give it a couple of seconds. Okay, I think we're good. So that's the first thing, and that wraps up the product side of the conversation for now, right? The second thing that we want to discuss is partner marketing collateral. In our last partner roadmap webinar, I asked for your help in helping us understand which types of marketing materials you need to be able to effectively talk to your customers about JumpCloud, market JumpCloud, make a case for JumpCloud, etc. And a lot of you were very generous to offer their time and talk. We had over 30 calls scheduled, and we collected a lot of feedback. As a result of these calls, we've created over 10 different topics that are directly benefiting end customers. So this is not material that's designed for you internally to educate your team, etc. It's content that you would use to position to your customers when you're trying to convince them to use identity access device management capabilities from JumpCloud. So we have a lot of topics in there, like meeting cyber insurance requirements, meeting compliance requirements, moving to the cloud, adopting a zero trust mentality, recovering after a data breach, IT during a merger and an acquisition. There's 10 different topics in there, and they were all curated based on the feedback that you've shared with us. So there are presentations that you can white label. We have speakers notes. We have recorded videos that you can watch to see how we actually use these slides. And these slides are fully editable, so you can add your own material and build your presentation around them. So thank you very much for helping us get to this point, but we're not done. We'd love your feedback on this specific set of material that we're ready now to share with you. And we'd like to know how we evolve it from there, like where we go next. If we need to dive deeper into specific topics or cover more additional topics, etc. So we're going to show you a second poll on the screen that asks you whether you're interested in receiving this material, and if you're also interested to discuss how to best use it and give us your feedback. So I really hope that you pick option number 2, because your feedback was great to helping us get to where we are, and I think that we still have a lot of work to do together. What we want to reach is a point where you really feel like you're properly equipped, everyone's equipped on your team to just be able to talk about JumpCloud, defend it, make a case for it, and just show the value to your customers regardless of the situation that they come to you with. So let's give this a couple more seconds. And yeah, let's go on to the next one. Perfect. So that was the second thing. First thing is we need help with product roadmap feedback. Second is marketing collateral. So we'd love to know more about what we can do, not just about marketing materials, right? But also webinars that you'd like us to host, anything that comes to mind. So hopefully we'll be able to cover in these calls, and they don't need to be long calls, by the way, where they can be very efficient in general. The third thing that we want to offer you actually is the option to tell your story with us. So Chris Tate, who's our chief strategist on the MSP side, has started a webinar or a podcast series interviewing our partners, and he asks questions during these podcasts around your business, what you do, the market that you operate in, where you see this market going, your experience with identity access device management, how JumpCloud helps you in these types of situations, how you see different players in the IT space consolidate, expand their capabilities, etc. So it's a great opportunity to tell your story and just get that the word out there, and also share your experience with JumpCloud. So we'd love to interview you as part of that series. Chris would share the questions ahead of time, they can be discussed, etc. It's a very kind of relaxed type of setting where you just share with us the good, the bad, the optimism, the pessimism, whatever comes to mind. So we're going to show you a poll, sorry with the many polls, and if you're interested in scheduling that session with Chris, I would encourage you to click on yes. Also, we'll post these on our different social media platforms. We'll promote these, so there'll be a good source of like mutual promotion of like the benefits of that we bring, the benefit that your business brings, etc. I think it's a win-win type of situation in general. So let's give you a couple more seconds. Perfect. And then finally, if you'd like to discuss anything else, if you have specific ideas for us, if there's an opportunity that you'd like us to go after, if you have any specific concern, if you're seeing an opportunity to grow and would like to discuss strategy and how to do different things, we'd love to have a conversation. This is kind of the catch-all poll for all the other cases that we didn't cover in the previous polls. So we're going to show you one last poll here that asks you whether you're interested in your account manager reaching out to talk about anything that we've covered in this presentation or anything that you have in mind. Again, like, we're not going to spam you. If you said yes to more than one thing, you're not going to receive 10 emails from us. Your account manager will reach out and we'll take it from there. So this is the opportunity to kind of continue working with us more deeply, talking strategy, figuring out the second half of the year as we work ourselves to kind of cement our strategy for the second half, etc. It's a good opportunity to catch up and have this call. I know that a lot of you talk very frequently to your account manager and that you have great conversations, but like that would be an opportunity for the ones of you that have been too busy and like haven't had the time to catch up in a while. So that's it, I think. Apologies again for the many polls. We'd love the feedback. We're going to send us a survey after this webinar to ask you about what we did, how you feel about it, etc. If you feel like we've spammed you, you want to see less of us asking for feedback, etc., please let us know. Like, we're happy to tweak this format in general. So with that, I guess, Chase, do we go over the questions?
We will, yes. I'm going to give you a break to chance to catch your breath, kind of go through that. And as you've been going through the polls, obviously you can tell that we would really love your feedback in helping guide this, because we really are partner-driven organization, understanding how we can leverage kind of where this lands on our future roadmaps and really where you can implement JumpCloud best within your client base. So as that, you feel free to throw in some more questions and other pieces as we start to go along. One quick caveat though, I'm already starting to see some come in. We're about 15 minutes in, and other pieces, if we don't get them today, we will actually be following up either for myself or your partner account executive. And if you've also scheduled time, then we will combine all those different aspects, making sure that you have those questions answered, both in terms of kind of what is coming down the pipe, as well as we showed a lot of today, which is really exciting in terms of what is available that you can start playing with and going through the GA. So kind of, I will start with the first question that came in, and the first question is when are you going to expand into conditional access around mobile devices? And I start with that one because I would love your feedback on that in terms of how you think about conditional access for mobile devices. Because in terms of what we have today across the platform, we typically think about leveraging the conditional access within our agent. So kind of desktop settings. And within those access settings, we're looking for, hey, is the right user on there? Is the right user group? Does the device have it? Is it disk encrypted? Is it coming from a trusted network? Kind of some of those other areas. Within a mobile configuration, or kind of, I'd say, mobile lifestyle, if you will, it's really interesting because typically we will take the notion of, well, we want to lock down the security side. So that's why you typically see within iOS and Android, you kind of first start with, hey, here's the corporate approved box of apps, right? You can have that separation between kind of life and work, but for these types of applications, we want to make sure that we are controlling access from there. And then from a conditional access today, then you can sort of say, okay, now we want to take it to the next step in terms of applications, saying probably shouldn't be logging into AWS, right, from mobile device or kind of other pieces. Or if you do, that's really where we want to enhance and kind of have a step up functionality in terms of MFA and other areas there. So I'd love to dive in deeper in terms of how you're thinking about that and other pieces, and be a great opportunity to talk with our product team as we start to dive into that. Now, next couple questions, I'll kind of group them around is, kind of that new sign-in methodology that we started with. So yes, that is all upcoming, and we really wanted to share that in terms of this is how our vision has been and kind of evolving into. As Antoine mentioned, we've typically had this open directory from the sense of you can grab everything and then bring it into JumpCloud, and then you can start to provision to all those other pieces. Now we will also want to serve kind of the opposite side of it, or a different paradigm, if you will, but really make more of a device-centric approach to that. So that way, as you come up to a device, you can sign in and then kind of have the opposite flow back up. And this is really helpful for onboarding scenarios and other pieces, but also offering a lot of flexibility if you have other IDPs that you're currently working with across client, other pieces. And we'll have a lot more details around kind of all those different flows. As Antoine mentioned, is like, that's the goal, but we're actually going to be delivering them in several different components when you think about from sign-on to a project of JumpCloud Go and all the other pieces, and how we bring it into a holistic passwordless journey. And so hopefully we'll be able to share a little bit more with you as we come in, kind of finish out through this quarter and other pieces, and keep you updated again on where those will be dropping in specifically. The next question, actually one that we didn't touch on here, but I wanted to make sure that, because it is within scope and is something that we are always thinking about. The next question is kind of, is it on the roadmap to create new permissions for admins, or allow kind of customer permissions kind of based on features? And short answer is yes. And so we're going to be overhauling some of the role-based access that you have as a multi-tenant admin, as well as some of the others, and kind of rearranging it, and kind of making it a little bit easier to understand kind of really who has access to what, but then also dialing that in a little bit more. So I don't know, Antoine, if you have any other flavor context that you wanted to add into that question.
No, that's also a very common ask. So we're discussing currently a billing only role, and then looking at how we can create a matrix of the different permissions that will allow you to create custom admin capabilities. And so it's definitely something that we're thinking about really hard and are trying to find solutions for. So you'll hear from us hopefully in the near future with some updates there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question, I guess we'll do some groupings around it, was kind of, hey, more of a suggestion, but you can leverage something like, I think I'm pronouncing it, IMEBot, right? That kind of deploying a directory of applications, kind of user management, other pieces. The short answer is we'd love to explore that a little bit more. So while we're going through the webinars, we're looking through just the current integration base, and that'd be something that we'd love to discuss, kind of your use case business around it, kind of what you've seen, and leverage it, and see if there's a great middle ground that you can have between kind of leveraging those different areas. I will say at a holistic level, though, we want to make sure that we can work with everything within your stack, and that's why we typically take an API-driven first approach, as you've kind of seen through some of these slides, where we use that as our foundation, and then we will layer in different UI, UX experiences over time, because we're still leveraging those APIs, but we want to make sure that you're able to do it easily, right? And kind of come through that. So like running ad hoc commands is a great example of that, where you can do it through the API. Now it's a little bit more enhanced, and now we want to take it to the next level. So that way, when you're actually within the platform, you're saving time. You're able to drill in and run, see a device, run those commands. Not quite instantaneously, but get as close as we can, right? And making sure that you're able to update that. All Next question, we'll cover it really quickly. Are you guys considering implementing a feature that kind of works like Microsoft Lapse, which was running through the local administrator password solution on some of those devices? And the shorter answer is not directly. However, we are looking at different ways that we might be able to manage that, right? So for new partners that might be joining us, this is your first roadmap webinar, we download the agent that creates a local profile on the device. However, with enhancements like Password Manager, where we're having kind of cloud backups and other things, there might be a combination of solutions where you're leveraging JumpCloud technologies to kind of have that implemented solution. So we can dive into, again, on that specific use case and see where there's gaps, kind of what you have currently on your Microsoft stack and how we can help implement and fill those. I think next kind of couple questions as we start to come through, we've actually answered kind of as we're running through the webinar. And so that's great to see that we've had some questions and we kind of preempt them in terms of billing questions, visibility, and then also kind of getting a summary of all these different MTP solutions that we have coming out. Antoine, a couple comments to you. So congrats on being a great presenter. So we've had some good feedback. So again, please keep the feedback coming through on some of those pieces.
Okay.
Next piece in terms of, this is a question in terms of, does JumpCloud have a forecast for translating systems into different languages? So kind of Portuguese, Spanish, French, and kind of other integrations there. This is a long answer that we get. And so one of the elements in terms of being a global organization is, I would say, the issue of localization, right? Because if you've been in an organization or software that has taken that on, it is a beast. And the reason why is we spend a lot of time within the admin console building out features and then also supporting documentation and then also supporting either APIs, agents, kind of other variabilities around that. And so it's come up, and so one of the things that we will begin to look into, right, again, no promises, you know, we have a disclaimer and kind of roadmap, other pieces, is for user interaction and making sure that there's more comfort level, especially within different languages, and making sure that we can look at it. So we will begin to look at that and start to go down that path. But for the most part, we typically have found that both partners, IT admins, and whether they're here next door to me or kind of globally, they're actually more comfortable within English, because that's actually how a lot of other organizations have set up either support documentation and additional, I'd say, support materials, training, kind of all those different aspects around that. And so we are cautious of that, obviously, and it comes up all the time. And so that's one of those areas where we kind of keep pushing the teams to kind of think within a global mindset and seeing how we can adopt that. But it comes at the cost of some of the other amazing features that we have, right? Because we still are offering the same people, same software, other areas. So that is one thing that we absolutely take to heart. We'd love to dive in a little bit more. And so maybe we can meet you in the middle. Again, working with Antoine and team, saying if all the marketing materials that we'll generate with you, the strategy, maybe there's some localization that we can have there, making sure that everyone feels kind of comfortable as we start to work within those areas. And that's something that I know that we've done in the past. All right. So other comments, trying to minimize our Microsoft footprint. How about some marketing for that? Yes, we will absolutely work with you as you start to dive into that. I'd say just another question in terms of thinking about working within the Microsoft one was kind of what is the future roadmap for Azure AD joined devices? And so that will also kind of come into progression. So I think you heard today, and so we have Windows MDM, which is a great start. And so there's a couple different ways if you're thinking about either user led or kind of Ubi flows, if you're familiar with that. And so this is actually the first step for us to kind of help create that foundation. In addition, in kind of previous webinars, if you've joined us in the past, we're actually working with, how our agent also works within AD bound and then also Azure AD bound devices, and making sure that one, there's no policy conflicts, because the worst thing that you can have is two agents fighting it out on the same device and you're not quite sure how to help remediate that. So we've been working along the lines to, one, not open up the Open Directory identity flow as you think about that, making sure that identities can go and pass through that, but then also on the device level. So there will be more to come on that, but again, right now we're focusing a little bit more on the MDM solution, making sure that that can come up to snuff. And then as we start to think about all those different workflows and other pieces. So again, we'd love to hear your feedback on seeing, where there's any shortcomings or other pieces that we can help prevent that, or kind of if there's other policies that we can help implement on the JumpCloud side to support kind of either working amongst your Microsoft ecosystem or kind of migrating off your, or kind of removing that footprint all in general. All right. One other question regarding JumpCloud Remote Assessed. When was the release date for unintended access? I believe it was a couple weeks ago. Like we are leading up to this but that is now live. So feel free to hop in and start playing around with it. It is really helpful, especially if you start thinking about time zone differences or just people not being there, right? And kind of, even Antoine and myself, I think, are spending several different time zones alone just in this webinar. So it makes it helpful. And please, 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 just as a quick reminder, shout out. So whenever you're within the JumpCloud console, feel free to open up the kind of the what's here, what's coming tab that's right there. And we have a running list of all the features. And so you don't have to wait for the webinar here, although we'd love to see your face and get all the feedback there. But we do, as soon as those features are released, we try to get them in our partners and clients' hand as soon as possible so they are available for you. So you'll have a running list of seeing all those different areas in there. All right. And see, let me see if I can run through some other questions, seeing if you have other areas.
Chase, I have a partner UX survey that I'd like to post in the chat.
Absolutely. Yes, we have a couple minutes left.
Can I just, so I go in there and I'm gonna say,
there you go. The SurveyMonkey one. I think we have it loaded.
Right. Oh, we have it there. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it would be like you would be helping us a lot if you spend some time filling that survey. It should take 5 to 10 minutes, I believe, but that's a survey that our user experience team has created to try to understand how we can mold the product over time to kind of improve the experience for you as you continue to grow with JumpCloud. So it takes a couple of minutes, not more than 10, but it's gonna help us a lot. So please, like, if you or someone on your team could fill that for us, we'd be grateful. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So the last few questions that I'm seeing coming here are feeling a little bit more specific to specific client situations, other pieces where we can reach out and help. And so we will set up individual times with everyone that reached out, because we'd love to game plan that a little bit more, and we can deep dive into kind of hear what's now within JumpCloud, what's coming near term, as well as kind of what you can expect a little bit more within second half as we start to think about all of our approaches to platform, whether that's Open Directory, devices, identity, the workflow automations, and everything else in between. And so with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I know appreciating the time, the feedback, we love it, we thrive on it. And so if you have, and if we will continue to reach out for those, and we appreciate filling out all the polls that we have today, as well as the SurveyMonkey pieces that we just sent out. So again, thank you for your feedback and appreciate it. We hope you have a great rest of your week as you start to dive into the summer and all good things. And we look forward to seeing you back on the next webinar here shortly.
Please subscribe and check out more content from us.